Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Yeah, that was really good. Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is Deadpoolzilla and Rasco's Modern Life. Hello, gentlemen.
What is up, everybody?
What is up, everybody, indeed? Okay, well, on this episode of Geeky Gentlemen, we will be discussing Freddy vs. Jason, the penultimate crossover of the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street films. But before we get into that, I just want to let you, the listener, know that you can download episodes of Geeky Gentlemen. In fact, you can download this episode of Geeky Gentlemen and listen on the go. There's a link in the description. If you want to download older episodes of Geeky Gentlemen, then go check out the Geeky Gentlemen playlist. You can leave a comment on one of our over 300 episodes, and I will post it to the download website for your listening pleasure. I'll let you know when it's up. Just leave a comment, and I will do all the rest for you. Except download it onto your listening device. I should mention that part. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. So, who was it? It was Deadpoolzilla. You picked this. Why'd you pick this shit?
This is... in terms of crossover movies, this is pretty bad, but at the same time, it's like fun bad. I mean, I can watch this the same way I can watch Batman and Robin, where I can sit down and enjoy it, and still be like, yeah, this is not a great film, but at least it's entertaining bad. I
wouldn't even go that far. I think there's a good movie somewhere in here.
It is. There is.
Or maybe 30 good movies somewhere in here.
Yeah. This movie had been in development hell for years, and this is the final film for the original Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street franchises before, the reboots and all that happened. Yeah. So,
oh, God.
Yeah, that's how it all ended, right? Right?
And it's so stupid. It just forgets continuity, but continue.
Yeah, I know, this is the final film and it forgets continuity.
To be fair, this is a franchise that has actively ignored continuity. Both franchises, mind you.
That is true, but I think Nightmare did a better job of holding it together at least a little bit.
Dude, fucking Nancy just randomly lives again in the second movie. No, third movie. My bad.
No, she's still,
Wes Craven killed her at the end of the first movie. They mentioned that she is dead in the second movie, and then she just shows the fuck back up in the third movie.
Well, they did the same thing in Halloween, but they just said she faked her death.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this movie is a lot of fun. It's definitely, you can clearly tell that Robert Englund's having a lot of fun in this film. The human actors are just there for being cannon fodder. They're all terrible. We'll get more to that. Well, one I have some stake in, so I'll get to him in a moment. But everyone else can go rightfully fuck themselves, which sucks because just one of the actresses was from Ginger Snaps Back.
I don't even know what that is.
You've never seen Ginger Snaps?
No.
Jesus fucking Christ, Ian.
Okay, anyway. Jeez, I feel bad, I guess? I don't know.
That's like an important horror movie, dude.
Really? I've never heard of it.
I have.
Rasco, back me up. This is important shit.
Important. Watch, Ian. Watch.
Okay, I will. I'll check it out. I mean, it's just no one has ever mentioned this movie before. That's interesting. Okay, well, my thoughts on Nightmare on Elm Street to get us started. Yeah, I think there's a good movie somewhere in here. I do think there are legitimately good ideas and interesting things, and I like that it confirms a lot of fan theories, and it just adds some stuff to the mythos, even though it has to ignore and kind of stop on some other stuff to do that. I don't care, because what it adds is more interesting than what it contradicts. Speaking specifically about Jason and the whole fear of water thing, I thought that was really clever. And I just don't care that it contradicts other things or itself later on in the movie. But no, I think there's like some really interesting ideas here. Like I like that Freddy, takes over the one guy and makes him dump all the medication that stops people from dreaming. I like that Freddy's, possesses him and then, brings Jason under. I thought that was really clever. I just like a lot of little stuff like that. Like the idea that the town has forced themselves to forget Freddy Krueger and that's removed his power. And then when he tries to kill the guy early on in the movie, he specifically says he's not powerful enough yet because there's not enough fear surrounding him yet. That's a really, really good thing that kind of fixes a lot of the problems with the Nightmare on Elm Street movies where Freddy just fucks with people for entirely too long before killing them. But it kind of works because it retroactively fixes those, where he's trying to build up the fear surrounding him in order to have the power to actually kill people. Just really, really clever things like that I really do love about this movie.
How about that, that Freddy slug? You love the Freddy slug. Oh my god.
The Freddy slug was an interesting idea. It's
looks terrible.
It's early CGI, yeah.
It's bad 2000 CGI, and why a slug? I guess it's supposed to be like Alice in Wonderland with the hookah and all that.
Well, it's not a slug, it's a caterpillar. It is specifically supposed to be like Alice in Wonderland because it's a caterpillar, not a slug.
Right.
And like it's kind of just playing on that whole idea. I'm trying to remember, Rasco, back me up on, or Deadpool Zola, back me up on this. Was there ever a point in any of the Nightmare movies where someone was high when Freddy attacked them? Like, I know, excluding, tranquilizers or like painkillers that put them under, someone was like using psychogenics.
Probably not, because
I don't think there was one.
Yeah, and see, it's just one of those things. That's what I like about it, because Native Americans used to call taking psychoactive agents, let's call it, they used to call it waking dreams. So there's a lot of things, a lot of little things where there's little nuggets of gold in this movie that I think are brilliant. The presenting it as a slug, I mean, could you honestly tell me that it's not at least conceptually a cool idea? And maybe it would have looked better in practical effects at the time? I don't know.
Yeah. And for nothing else, those fights between Freddy and Jason make up for a lot of the film if you have problems with it.
I don't like the second fight. I like the dream fight. I don't like the second fight.
Really? I like the Oh, wait, we haven't let Rasco talk.
Yeah, Rasco, you go ahead before we start getting into this. What are your general thoughts on Freddy versus Jason?
I agree that this is one of those movies that I have a very similar relation to Batman and Robin, where I think it's really bad, but I think it's really, really fun to watch. And at the same time, you could make an argument that this is the most true to form Freddy vs. Jason movie that could have possibly been made, given how shitty some of the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street movies are. So, I don't know. I think that this movie is the way it is kind of because the director, his name's Ronnie Yu. Looking at his Wikipedia page right now, and he's directed a fuckload of movies, and he's produced a lot too. But I think that these are almost all either foreign films or movies that no one has ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're mostly all foreign. So I think that this was a case of a guy that maybe culturally didn't understand these characters because of how ingrained they are in like American cheesy, I guess, just kind of cheesy cinema that has always existed in America. Like we've always had certain genres where we just pump out hilarious shit that's like that becomes iconic. And I don't think he like would have lived in America long enough to understand that cultural, I guess, niche of horror films.
Yeah.
It is weird that you wouldn't get someone with a passion for both of these things to direct this.
Yeah, it is weird.
It is sad, but at the same time, I kind of compare Freddy vs. Jason to a modern-day Frankenstein meets the Wolfman.
I mean, Robert Englund's compared it to that. That's exactly the example Robert Englund used, because like he's done this great interview, and it's just a really quick clip from it that you can find where he talks about the question he gets asked the most, and he's like, throughout my entire life since I've been Freddy Krueger, 13, 14-year-old boys will always walk up to me and say, "Oh, can you beat this guy? Can you beat this guy? Can you beat Jason? Can you beat Michael Myers? Can you beat Pinhead? Can you beat a vampire or a Dracula?" And it's something that's always happened and it's always existed, and you go back to the 30s with Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and it's always been there in the public consciousness, and eventually we did it with Freddy vs. Jason, but what I would always tell them is, yeah, I'd win. I'd get them in their dreams. And so it's like, yeah, that's what England's compared it to, and I agree. It's neat.
That is cool.
Yeah. I actually find, and I might get a little flack for this, I find this more entertaining than Alien vs. Predator, both films.
This is okay. That's so.
Nah, I like Alien vs. Predator as a movie.
Alien
more.
vs. Predator, I think, is a better movie. Alien vs. Predator is less hilarious. Like, the bad parts of Alien vs. Predator aren't really funny. Whereas, like, anything that's terrible in this movie, I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I think that's the difference between Alien vs. Predator, and especially AVPR, because nothing about that movie is entertaining. But the first one, I think, it's a better movie, but what's bad about it isn't funny. Whereas this is a worse movie that is much more, in certain ways, entertaining because it's funny. How bad it is in certain ways.
This, I would say that Freddy vs. Jason versus against Alien vs. Predator, that if you want to ask like which movie would you want to rewatch again and again, I would say Freddy vs. Jason.
That's fair. Like, Alien vs. Predator, I will say, is not a bad movie so much as it's just like a...
missed opportunities
really?
galore movie.
Yeah, there we go. So it's like, it's certainly not a good movie, and when you watch it, you're like, okay, yeah, alright, whatever. It's not an on-screen abortion like Alien Resurrection, though. It's not just god-awful, nothing to enjoy in it like AVPR. But, yeah, this has, like, some really brilliant things in it, and then it has some really typical things in it, and then it has some really just stupid things in it, like, let's just put Jay in the movie, because fuck it. Like, there's this really, really funny, it's like 4 hours long, so I forgive you if you don't watch it. I think it might still be on Netflix. There's this fucking 4-hour documentary about all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and they get to Freddy vs. Jason, and like they talk about that character who we're just gonna call Jay, even though he's not Jay. They get to that character and they talk about how he is just completely a Jay from Jay and Silent Bob ripoff. And then like Jason Mewes comes on screen and starts talking. It's like, yeah, it was such a great honor to be in Freddy vs. Wait a minute. I wasn't in that fucking movie. This is bullshit. And he just fucking leaves, and that's it. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. Because it was Bobby and I were just sitting there fucking watching this Nightmare on Elm Street documentary, and then that shit happened out of nowhere. There was no predicting that would ever happen, and it was hilarious.
And you're probably like, did that just happen, or am I on drugs? Like, you probably...
Like, I just wonder if he was just fucking there in the studio or something that day, and they're like, hey, dude,
it has to be that, right? Like,
he was just wander on set.
Yeah, like, oh my god, it's just the most ridiculous thing ever. So no, like, they are completely frank about how much of a ripoff that character is, and he just has no personality. Like, no one can just play Jay. Jay is Jason Mewes, right?
Yeah.
And so they try to just capitalize on the same thing, and it doesn't work at all, and that's just sad. But then you have, like, other characters that are just, like, completely fucking forgettable, and you have moments that are, like, actively stupid. Like, when Freddy is about to go after Blonde Bitch and her boyfriend, literally seconds away from going after them and being able to kill them, and then Black Girl just randomly yells, and he just, for no reason, decides to go after her instead.
You got a tiny dick, Freddy! Jason's got a big penis! I love that scene so much.
It's so fucking pointless, though.
It's hilarious.
There's no motivation for him to go after her.
It'd be like, I'll get to you in a minute, bitch. I gotta take care of them.
You know what's really stupid about that scene? Is that when Jason kills her there, why does her body go flying like he hit her with a baseball bat? Why doesn't her body just slice in half?
Because physics, Rasco.
This movie has none. This movie just goes, fuck you, physics.
What also doesn't work for me is just the fact that once Freddy is in the real world, he is initially completely outmatched by Jason, and then out of nowhere gains kung fu skills that he has never fucking displayed, and is suddenly somewhat of a match for Jason, and it makes no goddamn sense.
It's hilarious.
Like,
it is
like
hilarious.
honestly, I don't think, you know, and I think that's kind of the problem with just the idea of this movie, is Jason literally has no chance against Freddy when he's in the dream world, and Freddy literally should have no chance against Jason once he's in the real world, so there's actually no reason to cross these two over. The crossover for this era of horror that makes more sense and would actually work is Freddy and Pinhead.
Or Jason and Michael Myers.
Yeah, those two too. No, but I'm just talking about with Nightmare. Both of those crossovers make more sense than this. I have no idea where this came from for the fans.
Well, this film has been around, like, in development since Jason Goes to Hell, really, because of that ending scene. And this has been development hell for years, and I feel like, because this movie had gone through several script changes.
So many script changes.
So many.
Yeah, I just don't understand the appeal of this specifically, because, like, why? Why would you want to have this nightmarish, really clever character go up against the slasher? Why wouldn't you do that? Like, don't get me wrong, I don't like Hellraiser. I've seen the first two movies and was fucking bored to tears. But those two make sense to fight each other, because you can do really interesting things. Michael Myers and Jason make sense to fight each other because they are the same character.
Or Jason versus Leatherface.
Yeah, or that.
I think that you could
why
still make...
Freddy versus Jason?
I think you can still make the Freddy-Jason fight work. You just have to be a lot more careful with the way you choose to bring Freddy into the real world and what the rules are. Like,
it's kind of like...
if you make it some sort of thing where, like, Freddy, like, wants to come into the real world or something, and he has some plan that gives him, like, some of his dream powers in reality, like, that would be cool.
But that doesn't work with literally anything we've seen. Like, alright, so we got Nightmare 1, he's brought into the real world and killed by a child. Nightmare 2, I can't remember how it ends. In the reboot, the exact same thing.
The chick in Nightmare 2 said, I love the host, and then he burns to death for no reason.
Yeah. Fucking whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, the whole point of the Nightmare franchise is once Freddy's in the real world, he's fucking worthless.
Yeah, but see, then they always go back on that, though, because he's never dead. They're like, okay, this is how you kill him. Okay, he died this way.
No, and that's
not really.
That didn't kill him. About this movie, though. That's what works. That's what almost works about this movie is, okay, once he's brought into the real world, he's worthless, but it's the fact that you keep remembering him that brings him back. That is fucking genius, and whoever wrote that gets a goddamn golden trophy. What doesn't work is that he's brought into the real world to fight Jason at that point. That's stupid, because there's no fight anymore. If Freddy can be fucking murdered by children in the real world, why is Jason even, like, having a problem with him? At that point, he could fucking bend Freddy over and rape him, and I could honestly not complain about it, because it would literally make sense.
It doesn't make sense when you really think about it, but it's just fun. That's the whole point of the second fight is, hey, they're just beating the shit out of each other. Because honestly, he should have been killed when Jason smashed him through the windows continuously and threw him into that construction site.
Yeah, literally, it makes no sense. Like, Rasco, yeah, maybe if he could have dream powers in the real world, but it still makes no sense because he's never been able to do that. That's never been what he's after in any of the other films. I will say, though,
Wait a second.
I just want to make sure I mention this. I really fucking love how goddamn demonic Freddy looks in The Dreaming when he just misses killing Jason by drowning him. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah, and they used that look again because this actually got a sequel in comic form.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
Yeah.
Oh. Why not Pinhead?
I don't know why they chose Ash. That was so random of them.
You kind of needed somebody, and also the other thing with these characters, going back to these characters outside Freddy and Jason, is Will and Laurie. If you read the comic, they die. Jason kills them in the next comic. Yeah.
How do they die? How do they die?
Jason rips the guy in half and then puts a machete through the girl's face.
Yay.
So stupid of them to kill them after they survive. Okay, never mind. Continue.
Anyway, but I can't defend this movie, so you're totally justified in your rage, Ian.
No, it's not rage. It's just like, why? Like, I just don't understand.
Well, I think
like I love me some fan matchups. I love some fan fights. Those are always really fun to me. I enjoy the hell out of them. But they need to make sense. They need to actually have some logic as to why these two characters make sense to see in a fight together. Like, Batman v Superman as a matchup makes sense because you have the ultimate power character, and then you have the character who has no powers but an amazing intellect and unlimited resources. Those make sense to verse. Freddy vs. Jason have no interesting parallels to me.
Well, I think it just comes down to popularity. When you think horror, modern day horror, your mind usually drifts to Freddy and Jason more than likely. So that's what it kind of came down for studios is, hey, these two are popular, let's have them fight. That's how it was for Kong
but that's the thing
is
it was.
That's the same thing for Alien vs. Predator, and it goes all the way back to Frankenstein the Wolfman.
No, see, I disagree with that, because this, like, it could have been anyone at that point, right? This isn't studio thing. This is studios trying to reach out to fans. This is a fan thing before it was a studio thing. And I don't understand the fan base wanting this fight.
Well,
because I just don't see it there. I don't see the appeal.
Well, you'll get your wish eventually, Ian. They're already talking about Jason versus Michael, so.
Well, that makes more sense. I honestly don't care for the Friday the 13th or the Halloween franchise. I much more prefer the Nightmare franchise, which is why I like things about this movie. Like, you know, the only thing I like about this movie that's Friday the 13th centric is Jason being afraid of water. That's literally it. Everything else is Freddy.
Yeah. I will also admit that this feels more like Jason gets all the fun and Freddy only gets one person.
Yeah! Though, to be fair, Robert Englund does get some fantastic moments. Like, I love the fucking camp counselor sex scene, and she's like, aren't you gonna go save him? The fuck is wrong with you? It's not my problem, the bitch isn't wet, or whatever the fuck he says. That was great.
I'm sorry, but this bitch is dead weight.
Yeah, that was really funny.
She's really having fun with this.
Yeah, you can tell. And so I don't see the matchup here, and that's my biggest problem with it, is I do not see where this comes from.
Yeah. So, I'd talk about, I guess the other subject would be the human characters, but really, there's not really much to talk about other than the one, except the main guy, Will, who I just know him as the voice of a character from Gravity Falls in this show. So I have a little stake in him because I was like, "Go, Mason, go!" That's the name of his character in the show.
Mm.
So,
The characters in this are bland, generic horror characters, 100%. The main girl character...
Also, it's hilarious to see that they're trying to be 14-year-olds. It's hysterical.
Yeah. No, the main girl character is the one that cracks me up the most because, honestly, she looks, like, almost identical to the bitch that is in all the scary movies.
Oh my God, you're right. But you know,
she looks like it looks like it's a parody of itself because she looks so much like the girl in all the scary movies.
Almost like if you said that they were at least college students, I'd believe it. Like,
yeah, that's the other thing is like it's when it's college students, it's whatever, and it's still a little bit, old man fantasy-ish. But like when it's high school students and you show them fucking and naked all the time, I'm like, oh, really? Really? Like, there was always a little bit of an undercurrent in the Nightmare franchise where it was just a little bit sexualized, but it was in a creepy pedophile kind of way. This, not so much.
Yeah.
But I will see, that's like, Friday the 13th is that's the thing I always kind of see the difference between Friday the 13th and, like, Nightmare with the kids is that the kind of people that are in Nightmare on Elm Street, it's a little bit more tame with the kind of stuff the kids do, whereas in, like, Friday the 13th, the kids are always, like, the biggest, horniest fucks in the world, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
The only reason Jason's killing was because, God, you're just leaving semen everywhere.
Well, that is, I guess...
The condom! He just slashes through people.
Jason is he's the new mascot for abstinence.
Yeah. That's one of the things I guess I do kind of like about Jason's side to all this is the way in which Freddy manipulates him. It's like, oh, the bad children of Elm Street, they're just as bad as all the camp counselors that let you drown.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really clever to make Jason this, like, and, it's obviously been kind of there forever anyway, but to really just emphasize what keeps Jason alive is revenge. I really, really like that.
Yeah, in a weird, sick kind of way, you could almost see Jason as the good guy in this film.
I suppose. It's weird. He gets all the deaths and the Nightmare franchise by comparison to Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, Friday the 13th, and...
Halloween.
I already said Halloween.
No, you said Friday the 13th by accident.
No, I said Halloween. I promise.
All right.
Rewind if you don't believe me listening later. No, just like all the other like major horror franchises, I want to say Hellraiser, I can't be 100% on that one. Friday the 13th has always had the lower body count, so I think it kind of works that...
Really?
Freddy
You think
doesn't.
Friday the 13th had the lower body count?
No. Fucking Nightmare had the lower body count of all the
Friday again.
No, I fucking didn't.
There you did.
I?
I'm pretty sure you did there.
Okay, my bad. That time it was my fault. I swear I said Halloween the first time, though. No, Nightmare always had the lower body count of all the franchises, which is just... So it kind of makes sense here that Freddy doesn't get as many kills. Ultimately, he's responsible for all of them, though, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Who do you chalk him up to?
Well, I remember watching a vid counting all of Freddy's kills from this all the way to Freddy vs. Jason. It goes out to about maybe 30 at most. Whereas Jason, if you count this film, it goes into well in the hundreds.
Yeah, not surprised.
And if you go by Jason X logic, he killed over 200 people.
That's another David Cronenberg is in Jason X?
Huh?
Did you know David Cronenberg is in Jason X?
Yeah, I did know that.
Hey, who's he play?
He's just a
He's
guy.
the like business guy at the very beginning.
He's like his unique ability to regenerate lost and damaged tissue. It's like unlike anything we've ever seen before. He like delivers that line of dialogue in the movie.
Wait, that's him?
Yeah, that's David Cronenberg.
Holy shit! You see, that's another movie I really... God, I didn't know that. I love that movie, too. Like,
yeah,
it's a fucking dumb movie, but like...
I really like the scene where they put him in the holodeck with the naked camp counselors.
And you just
I love that scene. That is so fucking hilarious.
It's actually, like, I will give Jason X this, is that it has one of the best kills in the entire franchise.
What, where he puts the two in the sleeping bag and just fucking pounds on them?
The scene where he just drowns the girl in the dry ice and then smashes her head.
Smash her fucking face. Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't know. It's such a weird thing because the thing that I love about Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger is it's such a unique premise, and it's just so inherently interesting. And so when you get stuff like Wes Craven's Nightmare, it shows you how smart the material really could be in comparison to everything else that was coming out in this era of horror. Like, Chucky was stupid. I don't care what you have to say.
Stupidly
it's fucking dumb. It's a doll. Kick it.
And it's scary as fuck! I'm much more scared... I'm straight up, I'm much more scared of Chucky than anything besides, like, the fucking xenomorph from Alien. Like, Chucky's honestly up there for me in terms of the scariest slashers. He's horrifying.
Well, I think it's because of just you're probably more scared of Brad Dourif, Rasco.
Well, no, it's just like, Chucky is stupid, in my opinion. Like, you can have fun, you can like the movies, whatever. It's still fucking dumb, and you have to admit that to yourself. Fucking Jason, Leatherface, Michael Myers are all the same exact fucking character. They're just random slasher that can't die. Then you've got Pinhead, who's just, like, not the star of his franchise, which makes his movies fucking impossible to get through.
Well, hang on. Wait until, like, you have to get to, like, Hellraiser 3, and then he becomes the main character.
Yeah, fuck that, no. I watched the first two, fucking no. Like, just, it's so... Nightmare is just such an interesting fucking premise, and I don't know, maybe I just have a thing for dream logic. I fucking love me some Sandman, I love Inception, and call me crazy, I think there is a Nightmare on Elm Street crossover to be made with both of those things.
That'd be cool.
I remember watching like a fan-made trailer of Inception and Freddy.
Like, South Park made fun of it. I don't care. I think there's some legitimately interesting things you could do by crossing those two over. And yes, I will fucking stand by Sandman and Freddy Krueger. You put Sandman, Morpheus, Neil Gaiman's character with New Nightmare, Wes Craven's Nightmare, Freddy Krueger, you have a goddamn brilliant fucking premise on
the thing is that Morpheus is so goddamn powerful, he would probably just wipe Freddy off the face of the earth.
But the point is, with that particular take on the idea of Freddy Krueger, is you can't wipe him off the face of the earth.
Well,
he needs to exist.
Hang on, Morpheus can create... Remember that other character he created, that nightmare creature?
No, I know exactly. You're talking about the Corinthian. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But the point is, it's a demon that has to exist on Earth. Like, that's what's so brilliant about Wes Craven's New Nightmare. It's a demon that has to exist, and it likes the form of Freddy Krueger, so it's using it. That's just a brilliant premise. Its existence is necessary, and it's taken the form of nightmares, which would make it a brilliant crossover with Sandman, since that's his fucking realm.
All right.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like when people talk about like who would win in a fight, because like when you talk about like dream characters, it's like talking about characters in fiction, because they have rules that no one has rules in real life as to what they can and can't do besides laws of physics. But so like people say, who wins in a fight, James Bond or Batman? Well, James Bond never loses. So one of the rules of James Bond storytelling is he doesn't lose, and Batman has lost. So there are people that'll say James Bond beats Batman because James Bond wins every single James Bond story. Batman doesn't always win. And so you get to do that with Freddy Krueger, where like it's a demon that has to exist, and so there's rules because of their fictional characters in a dream world within a real world. So it's like you have to talk about them like they're fictional characters in the movie itself almost. Because they have certain...
And there's like plenty of meta commentary in both of those things. There's tons of meta commentary in Sandman, and there's tons of meta commentary in all of the Nightmare franchise, but obviously it's all fucking over New Nightmare.
Yeah.
It is like just that movie is a meta commentary. It ends with the bitch reading the fucking script.
Anyway,
I watched a Freddy Krueger movie today. I gotta get my bitches out, you know? And I gotta get my grab her by the pussies out,
Can I
too.
just, really quick, my pitch for a remake of Child's Play, this is just a casting decision. You cast Aaron Paul as Chucky, and you do mocap for Aaron Paul's face, and you make Chucky's new thing, bitch! Like Aaron Paul. That's how you do it.
Yeah, you know who should have played Freddy Krueger in the reboot of Nightmare is Aaron Paul.
Yeah, his player.
Because he's really good at the bitch.
See, Aaron Paul actually would be a pretty decent Freddy Krueger, I think.
I could see it.
Damn.
But Jackie Earle Haley's a damn good actor. He was not a good choice for Freddy
no,
Krueger.
I think he was a really good Freddy. It's just the movie surrounding him was not good.
I don't know. He couldn't deliver. He had no charisma for the moments of comedy.
That's because that movie had studio problems. That movie was just a shit script. What did you expect from Platinum Dunes and Michael fucking Bay?
Well, this brings us into an interesting thing, because this is the last movie, to get back to Freddy vs. Jason, this is the last movie in the franchise before the reboot. And so, keeping in mind as much of the continuity as you possibly can, up to and including this, do you think there was anywhere left to go, or do you think that they should have rebooted, but maybe done it better? Though I will defend the Friday the 13th reboot a little bit, just because it has one of the best prologues to a title sequence ever.
I just feel like I like that. I as much as I don't like either remake, I can sit and watch the Friday the 13th remake. But Rasco, you gotta back me up, and so Ian, you too. That thing just slams all three first movies together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I agree, but I fucking love that opening scene before the main title. You gotta give it props. That is a brilliant fucking opening.
Okay, I'll give it that. But no, I think I'm sorry. Did you want to say something, Rasco?
Well, no, I was asking. Do you think that do you think the franchise should have continued, or do you think it was time for a reboot after that?
I think with Freddy vs. Jason, it was a nice time to put the thing to bed, because obviously Robert Englund could not do... Because I think, he was about close to 50 at that point, right?
I don't even know.
Yeah, you can only do a character so long and want to be retired from it. And I don't think you could do anything else other than... Because, again, this is the same... Going back to... to Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, the only thing they thought could go higher was bringing in Dracula and House of Frankenstein, and so yeah, that's kind of what the whole Freddy versus Jason versus Ash thing was it was basically, to go one step higher, let's bring in another character. So literally, if they continued on this path, it would literally become a modern day House of Frankenstein, and trust me, none of us want that.
See, no, I think you do. I think if you were going to do another one, you would have to escalate it, I agree, and do another character. One of the many endings for this movie was Freddy and Jason still fighting in hell, and then chains separate them, and Pinhead comes out and says, "Gentlemen, what seems to be the problem?" That didn't happen. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been like a great after-credits scene.
Yeah, someone make it happen. I'm good at CGI. I'll do it.
Did you see that fan film by Blinky?
No, I'm tempted to watch it though.
It's basically
Wait, are we talking about Krieger, the Legend of Elm Street? Is that what we're talking
about? He did a fan film where it's like all the big slasher characters together.
Like the Trial of Freddy by Pinhead.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a really kooky idea. Rasco, where do you think where do you come down on it? Should they have rebooted or should they have continued?
I think they should have just stopped for a while, because ultimately that's what you do when you reboot, is you stop for a while then you reboot. I think that they should have waited longer before going back to Friday the 13th or Nightmare.
Well, let's see. Friday the 13th was 2009.
And I'll actually, with Friday the 13th, see, it's weird, because I like that reboot more, and it's kind of what I It's just that I have a much better idea for how you reboot Jason, and you do it in a way that necessitates it being redone. There's just a million better ways. Like I've always said, you do the thing with Rob Zombie's Halloween, where he shows Michael Myers as a kid. I think you can make an argument for that not working because
I can tell you it doesn't work.
To have Michael Myers be pure evil, like that's kind of Michael Myers. But Jason is a different thing. Jason is the kid that had a really shitty childhood and grew up in the wilderness like a wild person. So I've always had this idea for like a really cool Friday the 13th movie where it's like Jason and his mother growing up, and you get to see Jason and his mother, and she has a few screws loose, and so she's like a bad parent in some ways. But in other ways is like an overprotective parent of Jason, and then like you could do like a little bit of a segment of Jason living in the wilderness, and like you could do all these cool things with a reboot of that if you just like had waited a little bit and with Nightmare on Elm Street, that's one where it's really tough because you got to get the perfect actor for Freddy, and so that's one of those things where I say, I think that, honestly, the casting for Freddy was fine in that movie. I actually kind of like it. But what I would have done is I would have waited until you had an actor that you had to make a or a Nightmare on Elm Street movie for. So, like, you wait for the actor to show up. So, like, there's a lot of things where, like, I think X-Men Days of Future Past, or not Days of Future Past, like First Class, might not have worked well enough if you had made it like a year earlier or a year later where James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender weren't there to take those roles, because those were actors meant for those roles, which is hilarious because we've had that twice now with those characters. But you need that with Freddy Krueger. You have to wait until you've got the perfect actor that necessitates this movie's existence almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't hate the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. I just think it's a waste. I like the first 5 to 10 minutes of the Friday the 13th reboot, but I don't know. I think that if you just went bigger and really, really did the big crossover that everyone really wants, that eventually just became Terrordrome in my mind, I think you could have really had something, and then it should have just ended and we shouldn't have gone back to it.
Well, I don't know how far along this idea ever got or what the full story... all I know is that I know Max Landis had a script for a movie called Nightmares, which was like a big like MCU of slasher characters. So you had Chucky, you had Leatherface, you had Michael Myers, you had Jason, you had Freddy, you had Pinhead, and I don't know who else, but you had like those guys. And it was like a big crossover film called Nightmares that I think was actually going to be a reboot. And I don't know if that ever was like... I don't know. I don't even know if Max was like commissioned to write that script, or if he just wrote it one day and like was like, it exists. But
he just basically made a fan fiction, is what you're saying.
Well, that's all Max Landis does is make fan fictions that get ruined by Hollywood.
Yeah, kind of, pretty much.
What the fuck are you talking about? Of course, that's what Max Landis does. Like I don't know. I think that it should have just ended, or if you were going to do a reboot, I think you should have waited longer. Not the reboots are awful, they're just such a fucking waste.
Yeah, you could have really waited till we'd been starved of that traditional slasher film thing, you know? Like, you could have waited.
Well, it's weird that they all got rebooted. Like, everything but Chucky got rebooted, and, you know, I'm going to count the shitty Hellraiser movie. Everything but Chucky got rebooted just in those couple of years. We got the new Nightmare on Elm Street movie. We got the new franchise for Friday the 13th, the new Halloween thing. And only Halloween got a sequel. We also got the shitty Hellraiser movie.
Halloween has the worst sequel ever. Oh my fucking god.
Yeah, but like Halloween actually got a sequel is my point. They all got rebooted just within a couple of years of each other.
Yeah, and they were all just really like...
pointless.
Yeah, they were just like leaves in the air. Like, they're just gone now. Like, we just don't even talk about those films anymore. And it's like...
except for right now.
Yeah. You could have waited. And, you know, this sounds... I don't know what Nightmare on Elm Street... I don't know if that was a period piece, but, like, I'm of the mindset, if you're going to do Friday the 13th, like, do a period piece. Like, actually do that in the 60s.
Nightmare on Elm Street's reboot was a modern day.
Yeah, okay, so I thought.
Yeah.
Use cell phones and computers.
Yeah. You know what would have made a really cool Nightmare reboot? Well, you could do it as like a sequel to the film or like a reboot itself, where you have the Nightmare on Elm Street killings going on, but you focus on like a crime novelist who's trying to like dig up dirt about it, or like a private detective looking into the murders.
Yeah.
Oh no, you know what would really work about that is if Freddy wasn't attacking people until he started digging.
Yeah.
That would make it awesome, is if his digging is what brings Freddy back.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Like, no one talks about Freddy. He looks into, like, some old unsolved murders or some shit, and, like, he's trying to crack a case that no one else was able to or something, and then, like, he goes in, and because he's digging up all this stuff, and he starts bringing up the name, he's like, have you ever heard of Freddy Krueger? And there's a scene where this person's like, what did you just say? And then, like...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, his presence starts coming back, and that would be so cool.
And, like, then you could, like, I would fucking love this. You could end the movie... Hold on, let me just get this out there. You could end the movie with the journalist realizing that with Freddy telling the guy that he's the one that brought him back to the nightmares. He's the one that made him a nightmare monster. And the journalist's like, oh my god, what have I done to the world?
That'd be awesome.
And then he gets killed or whatever by Freddy. And that's the end of the fucking movie.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
And by the way, just throw this in really quick. What you could do with that, which would be badass as fuck, is you just just randomly release a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. You don't do what the Predator movies do. Don't specify what movies don't count in the franchise. Freddy's been gone for a long time, and then that's the story. He comes back through that story, and you assume it's at least a sequel to the first one, and you bring back Robert Englund as Freddy. You could do that. For like a one last badass Freddy movie or some shit like that, you could do that.
I don't think Robert Englund can play Freddy anymore.
I think he can. I mean, I've seen him. All I know is that he was doing mocap work for like the first Black Ops game. He was like in one of the zombie DLCs, and he did mocap work there, and he was very heavily kind of like digging into the Freddy persona for that. I think he totally could.
I think...
Nah, dude, all the makeup and stuff, it's fucking exhausting, the kind of shit he had to do. He almost drowned on set one time.
From all the makeup.
No, like there's that one where he's like, drags someone into a waterbed or whatever, and he almost drowned doing that. You can see some behind the scenes footage where he pops out of it and fucking just cusses out the director. Because, like, you're keeping me down here too long for your fucking yelling action, and I'm almost gonna duck and die. And he's like, he just cusses the dude out. All the makeup work, that's hours and hours of makeup.
That's hilarious. I want to see Ronnie Yu get yelled at. Oh my god, I fucking hate Ronnie Yu.
Going back to the idea of what we were talking about for that Nightmare movie we were talking about, you can kind of follow the story of the movie Sinister, and it would work for Yeah.
Exactly. That'd be perfect.
I don't know that movie either. I feel like I'm losing my horror cred.
Should watch Sinister. It's worth it.
Sinister and Ginger Snaps.
Oh yeah. Wait, Ian, you might really like Sinister, actually, if you like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, it's got a cool, like, kind of like twist, like mystical type of shit with it. It's cool. You'd like it, I think.
Yeah, the main villain's a pagan god.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for spoiling that.
Well,
for me.
I'm not spoiling the whole movie. I'm just telling you. It's that they tell you in the trailers of the film.
Yeah, that really doesn't. It's cool. I don't want to say anymore, but it's cool.
Okay.
Don't watch the sequel. It's shit.
Yeah, don't watch the sequel. Don't. Oh my god, don't watch the sequel.
Okay. Anyway, back to Freddy versus Jason. Okay, let's start talking about favorite thing, worst thing for this movie. Deadpoolzilla, you go first.
It is a good send-off for both films, and I like how it calls back to, Hypnosil and Weston Hills. The problem is that they kind of contradict each other, kind of like, oh, we need to contain this, and really, when they're trying to be like, oh, we need to contain this, they're really just ramping up everyone's fear even more. Also, there's just pointless lines, like when one kid, after the first guy who gets killed by Jason, he's like, I'm gonna get him, Trey, I'm gonna cut his fucking name in here. Like, he does a Predator moment. And it's literally the scene from Predator. Go back to what, but what happens is like he just dies instantly after having his dad be like, "You were supposed to be home watching your sister," and he's like, "My best friend was just killed, Dad." And he's like, "You little dumbass," and I'm like,
Yeah. So that's honestly your worst thing in this fucking movie?
No, it's just like there are some pointless scenes, like how Laurie's dad, the main chick's character, her dad was in charge of Weston Hills giving out Hypnosil, and it just made people go into comas if they OD'd. But that thing goes nowhere.
Is that the name of the drug in the movie? Hypnosil?
Hypnosil. Yeah, it was used in Dream Warriors.
Okay, so at one point it wasn't called that. It was called somnambulance. That was what it was called at one point in one of the scripts, and then they changed it because that sounds retarded.
Okay, Rasco, how about you? Favorite thing, worst thing?
My favorite thing in this movie... Oh, God. My favorite thing in this movie, I just really like watching from the point where the guy gets cut in half, where Jay gets cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
From that point on, that just segment of the movie is my favorite part of the movie.
Minus the black girl scene, I'm guessing.
Oh, that's a great scene. But I'm just going to say that whole section because that's kind of like what you're there for. You're there to see that shit going down, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Worst thing about this movie, probably like the fucking soundtrack. Isn't it just like
metal?
Yeah,
it's so it's like garbage metal too.
Yeah, like it's the most like
no.
It's the most like not badass music.
Yeah. Trogdor was a man. Or maybe he was a dragon man. Or maybe he was just a dragon. Trogdor! You're welcome for everybody that got that.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you. Strong Bad would be proud.
Rasco's too young to remember that.
I'm too old to remember that. Fuck you, Ian. You're making me feel old.
Right. Anyway, no, but it is just ass metal, and not like the good kind of. It's butt rock. There we go.
Hey! You do not insult Slipknot on there. Snapped was a good song.
No, it's butt rock though. It's not like the good, like, you know, you feel ashamed for really enjoying it kind of butt rock that's like all the Sonic the Hedgehog music. It's like just that, wow, this is seriously the dumbest shit ever. This has nothing going for it.
It's not terrible. Look, okay, but I'm not gonna diss Slipknot on there, okay?
Okay, you enjoy Slipknot all you want. Anyway, I agree, Rasco. The soundtrack is just god-awful. Yes. Like, it's especially the title sequence, because, like, it sets this pretty cool mood, you know, we get that really fucking creepy-ass close-up of Freddy Krueger's eyes, and you see he's got, like, the really pointy teeth and shit that go away later in the movie, and then it's, like, the splash of blood, and it forms the title, and it's just so contradictory to what we were seeing before. It's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So, wait, did you give your best thing, or was that just your worst thing?
Oh, my best thing was
just
you
did.
Ending of the movie, kind of.
Yeah, okay. I'll say my best thing, is I just really, really like the first time that someone that the girl starts to see Freddy Krueger and how they just introduce all that shit in the dream sequence. Like, I fucking love the way they introduce the Freddy rhyme. I love the way that all works, and I love how the mystery of it unfolds, and, like, you know, she's at school freaking out about it, and then it just gets 100 times worse when the kid from the lunatic asylum starts finishing it all off for her and confirms everything. I really, really like how that all works out, because Freddy's plan fucking worked right there, because that's what starts to give him power. My least, the thing that I think is just objectively the dumbest about this movie, and there's a lot to choose from, is just how fucking lazy some of the plotting is, and you can really start to tell when this script became Freddy Krueger, and by that I mean the nightmarish bastard child of 1,000 madmen. Because, like, there's just so many lazy writing things that make no sense when you think about them for 2 seconds. One of them being, why the fuck does the one kid have a house? Like, the kid escapes from an asylum. We never see his parents. We're told his brother is dead. Why the fuck does he have a house? If he has a house and he's escaped from an asylum, why don't they go check the house first?
Holy shit, I didn't think of that. I mean, he dies instantly, so I never really thought of that.
It makes no sense. And, like, you could tell, he wasn't supposed to be in an asylum at the beginning of the movie. But they don't think of that shit. It makes no fucking sense. There's so much shit in this movie that makes no goddamn sense. There's just, like, all these plot elements that are like, where the fuck did that come from? And like, Rasco, you mentioned, or Rasco or Deadpool, I forget which one of you mentioned, though, like, the fucking, oh, my dad's the one that's been drugging all these people.
Yeah,
well, I'm so glad that and like, but then she gets this weird family motivation because it turns out Freddy married her, or murdered her mom, that'd be a much different movie, murdered her mom. Like, why the fuck did Freddy have the power to murder her mom, but
not her?
Forgetting. What?
Also, like I said, when everyone's, like, all the adults are like, we need to keep it contained, all they're doing is riling up more people.
And also, on the fact of Freddy murdering her mom, why the fuck was her dad in the bedroom with a goddamn butcher knife? That makes no sense. There's no reason for him to have that.
Maybe, the best way I could describe that is maybe he was trying to, Freddy was trying to trick her into thinking it was her, and then, oh, big reveal, it was me.
No, that's exactly what it is, but that's because he has the script on his side. What possible reason, like, we're shown multiple times, not only from Freddy's perspective, but from the perspective of the boyfriend, that the dad had a knife. So, what?
That is a good point. Like, what were you going to do? Were you going to, like, cut Freddy out of her, or?
Fucking knows.
Exactly.
But even
now
even
you're
still,
catching on to the script's layers, okay?
Yeah, even still, what the fuck? Why is Freddy able to kill her? And then no one else suddenly. What? If Freddy's able to kill her, why the fuck isn't he able to kill the dad? If the dad's taking the drugs, how come he hasn't been fucking comatized from it? What? There's, like, so many just lazy writing problems in this. And, you know, lazy writing isn't the right word. You can just see all the seams of all the different scripts that were put together. Because that whole thing with the dad drugging people was supposed to go somewhere. And it doesn't.
Yeah, it's weird. 'Cause, like, okay, so this is one of those things where, like, they really pull from, like, all of the scripts that have existed to sum up to, like, one degree or another. And it's like, it's like, if you want, there's this one video, maybe I'll link it to you sometime, and you can watch it, where this guy breaks down, like, all of the scripts that existed for this movie, and, like, the last 3 scripts were kind of, like, the same version of, like, it was, like, 3 versions of, like, a very similar premise, but then they pull from, like, the original scripts, which are had nothing to do with this movie, and they just, like, randomly pull different sections from different things, like, everything involving the kids and the drug, and, like, going to that place and that facility with the drugs, that's all from, like, the later drafts, and some of those drafts, there's a draft of the script that literally, like, doesn't have Freddy and Jason in it.
What?
There's literally, like, a draft of the script where a bunch of kids they're in there on this drug somnambulance, and then they, like, escape and go after that girl and try to kill her.
What?
And then there's a version of that script where they make those kids a cult called the Fredheads. And then Freddy comes into it a little bit.
That's so stupid.
What?
Yeah.
I can't. What?
Yeah, it's all fucking over the place, and that's just why. Like, if you're gonna spend so much time on it, how can it not make sense? That's what I don't understand. If you're going to spend this much time, this much money on it, how can it just fundamentally make no sense? Somewhere along the line, someone had to realize this scene makes no goddamn sense in this movie. Sorry. Oh, excuse me. But no, apparently no one did. So yeah, that's my biggest problem with Freddy vs. Jason. Like, all the cool little neat things that add to the Elm Street mythos I really, really love. All this stupid, fucking, pathetic, stitched-together writing is ridiculous.
At the same time, it's still, like, despite all that, it's still, like, dumb fun.
Yeah, this kind of movie to watch with someone. I'm glad I got to watch this with Haley. Because you can just have fun, you can laugh or whatever at parts, and you can go, I got jump scared.
Not my arm.
Yeah, you can like point at the other person and laugh at getting jump scared by such a stupid movie, all this other stuff. But to watch, I just can't imagine watching this on my own for fun.
And I have.
Yeah,
I have as well.
You're both sad excuses.
Sometimes by accident.
And you have my pity. I don't know. I'm not a fan of this movie for obvious reasons. Particularly because I really, really like the direction Craven tried to send it in with New Nightmare. I legitimately think that is a genius film with just some stupid stuff here and there. Whereas this is just a stupid film with some genius stuff here and there.
Ronnie Yu.
And Ronnie Yu.
You. Ronnie Yu.
And we need to fill a couple more minutes. One of you two fuckers take us somewhere.
It wasn't, okay, Rasco, it wasn't Kane Hodder playing Jason, right?
And this? No, it wasn't Kane Hodder.
It was, Ken, what the fuck's his last name? Ken Kazank. It's a K last name.
Kinham.
Yeah. I think he's really good. I mean, yeah, you just have to stand around and look menacing as Jason. But I really like how physically imposing he is. Like, that's the whole point of Jason, is you make him just huge.
Okay, so I used to agree with you, but this movie warps your perception of Jason Voorhees so much. Like, I always forget how terrible of a representation I think this actually is of Jason, because it tricks you into thinking that this is Jason. I think that they think Jason is Michael Myers in this movie, because Jason was never the slow, lumbering walker. Jason was always the big fucking, I'm a big burly man, bust through this fucking door with my dick. That was Jason. Michael Myers was always the one that was walking, and, like, you wouldn't just see Michael Myers. You'd see Michael Myers, and you'd see, like, smoke and, like, leaves blowing in the wind behind him, and it was like, that's him. Like, that's all him. He's this entity. Jason was always just more of, like, a random lumberjack dude in the wilderness. And I agree, like, that... I almost agreed with you when you said that, but then I think about it, and I always go back to this. I'm like, wait a second, they tricked me into thinking that this is what Jason acts like.
Well, go back to, like, Friday the 13th, 3 and 4. I mean, yeah, he was kind of stalking around and all that.
It's weird, it's different. He's like really, okay, so there's a difference. In this movie, he's like lumbering around. And there are movies where Jason does that, I think, maybe, but go back and watch Friday the 13th. Notice how many times Jason runs. And I remember this, when the remake of Friday the 13th, or the reboot, whatever the fuck you want to call it, when that came out, I remember everyone on the internet was like, oh my god, Jason runs now. I remember everybody said that, because there's that shot in the trailer where he has the bag on his head and he runs at the woman and he, like, slices at her, and then it cuts away. And I'm like, wait a second. I thought that too when I watched it, and then I go back and I'm like, wait a second, Jason has always run. Like, even in Friday the 13th Part 3, he runs, he chases people, he breaks through fucking doors, like, he's a crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, like, I think they fixed that a little bit by the end of it. When you have the Freddy fight, he kind of tosses through that cabin.
But yeah, no, it's much less of an issue there. It's when he's chasing people, and it's like... because that's very distinctly a Michael Myers thing. We're being chased by this guy. He's walking really slow, so he can't catch us, and somehow he's around the corner. That's straight up. That is like an actual Michael Myers thing. Like, he pops up in places he could not get to physically. And you kind of buy it because the way they build him up as this big theatrical foe. And that's the opposite of Jason. I've always found Jason is that he's built up like this big crazy fucker, but he's really just a kid. Like, he's really just a big kid. That's what Jason is. Mm-hmm. And it's like you.
Can I tell a story real quick about the whole killer that's able to appear around the corner kind of thing? Go ahead. So we made a horror movie back in 2007. It was called Seether's Revenge, and it actually was not a sequel, even though it sounds like it. And there's this scene where my friend Nick and my friend Matt there's Nick, Matt, and Scott are walking through the woods for some awful fucking reason. Scott gets murdered. Nick and Matt run home, and it was my house that they ran into. So they run in the.
You just escaped from the asylum, Ian.
Yeah. They run into the house, and like Nick is the one actually running, and Matt was supposed to be like exhausted in the scene. So Nick runs through the back door and leaves it open, and we're bad at pacing and cutting at this point in our lives. So Matt, the camera just stays. Matt slowly walks into the house behind him as they're both afraid. Matt like acting as if he's exhausted from all the running. Then it cuts to a shot of Nick running from behind the camera into the shot and down the hallway into a door. And then after Nick has entered the door, Matt comes into the shot right behind him and walks slowly. And then the next shot is Nick running inside the room that Nick has run into. It's him opening the door, running into the room, quickly running off camera, immediately followed by Matt. and we're editing this, and we've already shot it. We're not gonna get the chance to shoot it again. We're sitting there editing it, and my friend David's there. And he's like, "We should have fucking made Matt the killer. Goddamn."
Michael Myers origin story, the prequel.
Pretty much. And so when we were filming, just random shit, joking with ourselves, and it's there's all these in jokes like that in the fucking end credits with our gag reel. There's all these fucking in-jokes, and one of them is Nick running around the corner and Matt, slowly walking, "I'm gonna get you!" So yeah, it's just really stupid stuff like that. I think that comes, I agree that I think a lot of horror movies now do that on purpose, but I think that initially comes from just lazy, bad editing, where no one was thinking about the situation. So yeah, just shit like that I find amusing.
I just point out something really quick. I just remember something about Jason in this movie that also pisses me off. His fucking head in this movie is so stupid. It's completely void of detail, black rubber latex just over his fucking head.
Yeah, and he's got really weird fucking looking ears.
Yeah, it looks like in the terrible Captain America movie from, is it when was that?
The 90s Captain America.
Yeah, he's got the fucking rubber ears.
Yeah.
Funny.
But again, I fully acknowledge, it's not a great design. I still like this Jason. And again, he's too much like Michael. You are right on that. I don't know.
Well, did this design of Jason pop up in his own franchise, or was this done specifically for this movie?
He looks way different in this than he's ever looked. And it's kind of weird, because it's they got a caricature of Jason, but stayed pretty true to Freddy in a lot of ways. Because, the thing is, Jason in this movie, he's, 9 feet tall randomly, and his fucking machete is as long as, an Arabian, sword. It's like a jousting sword. It's fucking huge.
You don't use swords when you're jousting.
Shut up.
Just pointing that out.
Shut up!
My bad. Yeah, you know what my thoughts on Jason are?
What?
I don't fuck because I don't like the franchise.
Oh.
I really do not give a fuck. He is exactly what I think of as Jason from Friday the 13th, which is big, slasher motherfucker that I don't care about. That's where I stand on Jason.
I just realized another thing that bothers me about Jason in this movie is he doesn't have, like, the traditional Jason, like, handyman outfit. Like, Jason normally wears, like, a one-piece outfit. It's like a full, like, it's like you'd work on it like it's like a mechanic's outfit.
I will make an argument for that. I think it works here because we specifically see him resurrected. So I think he is wearing that.
But it's all torn the fuck up.
Yeah, because he's been, like, buried for X number of years.
Yeah, if you, he's been buried since, I guess, 1990-something?
I guess.
Yeah.
Which is
if
weird.
You want to go...
Never mind, continue, sorry.
No, you go ahead, Rasco.
I don't know, how do you feel about, like, paranormal Jason? Because, like, okay, so it's really weird, because you go back and you watch Friday the 13th, it obviously gets supernatural around part 6, I think. Yeah, part 6 is where, like, is officially magic is in it. The rest of it, I always liked Friday the 13th a lot more, is, like, there's a lot of stuff built up around all of these things that could totally possibly happen. A mother and a son, the son drowned, but he didn't actually drown, he's in the woods, and yada, yada, yada. There's all these things about the legend of Jason Voorhees that if you told someone, it's very understandable that you would get to a place where it sounds like a supernatural legend, but everything makes sense. So they're like, Jason drowned in the lake, and now he's come back to kill all the camp counselors. Well, no, in reality, he never drowned in the lake. Everyone thought he did, and he's actually alive still, just living in the fucking wilderness. But the legend is that he died, and that he's just that's what happened to him. And there's all this stuff, and it works much better if he's not paranormal. If that's all just a bunch of hearsay because all of these rumors and stories of Camp Crystal Lake and all the bad things that have happened there, it sounds better when it sounds supernatural, not when it actually is.
Let me throw this out at you. I agree for Friday the 13th on its own. I think it plays a little bit better here, especially if you go with a little bit of the whole Wes Craven New Nightmare idea about stories giving power to myth.
It does work better with Freddy Krueger. It makes more sense here than it ever has in any of the other movies.
We have Freddy Krueger in this movie who is shown to gain his power from people knowing about him, remembering him, fearing him. So I think it doesn't really work in the context of all the other Friday the 13th movies. But I think it works in the context of this because Jason then becomes kind of a reflection of Freddy. He gains the ability to never die because there are all these stories about him where he's never able to die. And so I think he kind of gets some of the more, since this technically, even though it came out before this, since Jason X is obviously set after this movie, I guess he gains that supernatural ability from Freddy.
Well, let me say this first, and I gotta really explain this, so give me a moment. For Friday the 13th Part 6, when they introduce magic, it's more like lightning bolt to the chest, and it's the most BS thing ever, but it's, at this point you forgive it. But really,
I'm thinking of Part 7 when I say magic. I'm thinking about when she lifts him out of the lake.
Yeah, like she just wills him to life.
Yeah.
Or, you could almost play the Evanescence song.
Yeah. It kind of is, it's like pseudoscience in Part 6. By Part 7, it's straight up fucking magic.
Well, they do kind of, in the Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash crossover, they kind of give a reason behind Jason's regenerative abilities and why he keeps coming back. Is because... he's a deadite.
You're a wizard, Jason.
Well, they say that he is a deadite in the book because in Final Friday, Jason Goes to Hell. You see the Necronomicon in the movie.
That's the fucking most... you're right. You're totally fucking right, dude. Oh, God. But I hate... it's stupid as shit, right? That's terrible.
Stupid as shit, but they... In the comic that's in canon with this movie, it said that, they find... Jason's mom used it to bring him back, and he's a deadite now.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I like my explanation better.
Okay, but here's, when you say shit like that, there really is a lot of cool potential to just take all of these and combine them into one universe, right? there's so many cool things that you can do to connect, like, all of the different things. And it's so fucking cool. Like, you could make, like, if you, like, combine all of them, you could do some weird thing where, like, Freddy, like, gave Michael Myers nightmares as a kid, and then, like, saw some sort of, like, evil in Michael, and instead of killing him, he, like, gave him more power, and that's why Michael Myers... Like, you could do so many fucking things you can do to, like, interlink the past and the origins of all of the horror villains. And it'd be so fucking cool if there was, like, a franchise with all of them in it together. It'd be so cool.
Yep, but it's not going to happen.
It's kind of fun because I've been watching this fan film series that has all the horror villains fight each other. Like, just the other night, I watched Candyman and Michael beat the shit out of each other.
Neat.
Who cares about Candyman? I mean, I understand Candyman. Like, fuck Candyman, though, really.
It's just because you need more people to round it all out.
Yeah, you're right.
The first movie's good. The other two are just like, I don't care. Anyway, so, again, you know, it's a flawed-ass movie, but I love it.
Wait, you're telling me this movie isn't a fucking masterpiece? Is that what you're trying to say? You're telling me this movie has flaws? This movie is the farthest thing from a flawed piece of art, okay? This is the farthest thing from that.
This is Oscar bait, goddammit.
This fucking... It's perfection.
Yeah, I agree with Raska. This is a 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5?
Yeah, it's a 5 out of 5 for me, too.
5.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Huh?
Yeah, no.
First time that everyone on a Geek Gentleman episode has given something a 5 out of 5?
No, we're fucking not doing that. Let's do real ratings now. Okay.
Official. The first
right, I will give this movie,
score.
Yeah. I will give this movie 1.5 out of 5 rip-off copyright infringement Jays. That actually works because it's a horror movie and he gets cut in half, so there.
Yeah. I will give this movie 4.5 Freddy caterpillars or Freddy pillars out of...
There's no way you can justify a 4.5. No fucking way. That is a horseshit rating, and it degrades any other rating you've given any ever.
Dude, it's my topic. You said okay.
Trimmers.
I gave it 3.
You gave Trimmers a 3.
Fuck that. You cannot give this more than 3.
Okay. I will give it 3 Freddy pillars. How about that?
At least you're saying it's on par with Trimmers at that point. Okay.
Trevor's is an infinitely better movie
Agreed,
than this
but
pile of garbage.
you know, I'm not having an aneurysm anymore after hearing that.
Okay, real answer 3. I just wanted to see how Ian would take it.
Yeah, you're a fucking liar is how I'll take it. You're full of shit is how I'll take it. Okay,
I love
Rasco. I swear to God, if you say like a 5, I'm gonna slap you in the face from across the internet.
Give this. Oh, fuck. You know what? Normally, okay, I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 5. Giant 25-foot-long fucking machetes out of 5.
that are a metaphor for a penis.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a good movie. It is kind of fun. I'll give it that. It's got some neat stuff here and there. All right. Next week on Geeky Gentleman, I'm very excited because we're going to talk about probably one of the greatest horror movies ever made, in my opinion. Not to oversell it. We're going to talk about The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. For those that are watching this on Sunday morning, Fathom, at least in the U.S., I don't know if this is worldwide, Fathom is doing a live screening of this film in theaters. So you can go see it on Sunday the 23rd, and they're doing a repeat screening on Wednesday the 26th. So you can see it in theaters just in preparation for Geeky Gentlemen.
Yeah, they're doing it because of the episode we're recording. We got in contact with Fathom, and we said, hey, look, we're doing this review of The Shining. You need to show it in theaters. And they said, yeah.
Yeah. We literally had to, do some really dirty favors for Ben Mankiewicz over at TCM. Yeah, like, we know where hey, Ben, you owe us this. We know where the bodies are buried.
Oh my god.
Honestly, I'm just, like, really impressed that you fucking know Ben Mankiewicz.
I watch TCM all the goddamn time, asshole.
No, I'm just, like, really fucking impressed. Like, of all the fucking random TV personality names that are actually connected to Fathom that you could know, that's really impressive to me.
Yeah. Thanks for underestimating me, asshole.
I guess. My bad. Like, sorry, I fucking am surprised that someone knows Ben Mankiewicz off the top of the
I was
goddamn
this close to saying Robert Osborne.
Okay, I think the list of people Deadpoolzilla would go gay for is increasing exponentially. Okay, anyway, that'll do it for this week's episode of Geeky Gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I am the Creator.
And I'm Kruger, the Legend of Elm Street.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing
things.
Fuck you, don't do that.
Oh, I wanted to do that for so long.
Ha 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 ha!